Well, hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the webinar this morning. We'll be discussing the PhD in Global Health Metrics and Implementation Science, as you know, including information about the curriculum, admissions, funding, and the University of Washington more broadly. So we are the program management team with myself, Sarah, primarily supporting metrics students, and with Savita, primarily supporting implementation science students. So at the very end of this, we will do a question and answer period. So please go ahead and drop any questions that you might have throughout this in the chat, and we will circle back to those at the end.
So I'll take the first slide, a little bit about the program. This slide should give you a little bit about the overview of the program. Our program draws significant strengths from our unique structure. We are a collaborative program between the School of Medicine and the School of Public Health. And within that, the departments of Health Metrics Science and Global Health. Faculty and staff from both these departments support the program, and students have access to an abundance of resources, perspectives, and opportunities as a result of this structure. And as you can see in the diagram, you will also see where we essentially fit within the university as a whole. And while we have two tracks, you will see that we are very much one program. It is a joint program. The program overall is interdisciplinary. It provides students with a very firm knowledge base in multiple disciplines that enhances their chosen area of expertise. And upon graduation, our students are prepared to enter into a variety of sectors.
So ideally, the program is completed within 4 years, with 2 years typically being occupied by coursework and then two later years being devoted to the dissertation. So on the right of the screen, you'll see the course requirements, including core credits that all students, regardless of their track, will undertake. And I do want to note quickly, if you visit the website, you may see area of emphasis. And actually right here on this slide, you see area of emphasis. For our purposes, area of emphasis and track are kind of interchangeable. So we're referring to the same thing when we say that. But you'll notice that the bulk of coursework is shared across these two tracks. And lastly, you'll see electives and dissertation credits making up that whole of 98 credits that are required in order to graduate. And reaching this number is typically not a challenge for students given the dissertation process and the coursework that our students elect to pursue.
So a little bit more about the program structure. As you can see from this slide, there are key milestones that students in the PhD program will complete. One is the preliminary exam, the general exam, and the final exam. The preliminary exam is usually completed after a student has completed most or majority of their coursework. The questions drawn are on the materials that are covered during the first 2 years in the program. It is offered once a year, and students typically complete it after their second year in the program. The general examination is written and is delivered by a student's committee and covers topics related to the student's dissertation as identified in their proposal. And upon completion, both the oral and the written component, the student then becomes a doctoral candidate. The final exam consists of a dissertation defense, and this process is essentially led by the students' committee. So it's these three key milestones that all students in the program will go through.
Okay, so now we'll talk about admissions. So we accept applications once per year, and that's all for autumn entry. So right now we're accepting applications to join us in autumn 2024. And our deadline is December 1st, 2023. And that's for both of the tracks. Very importantly, there are 2 different applications. So each track has its own application, and the names are a little bit tricky. So metrics students should apply for the Health Metrics Sciences PhD, whereas implementation science prospective students should apply using the Global Health Metrics and Implementation Science application. As you will read about when you're applying, the graduate school is currently switching application systems, and these names got a little bit confused during the process. So if you're unsure about which application you are using, please reach out to us. We're happy to confirm. The questions on these applications are different, and they're reviewed by different committees. So it really is important that you apply for the one that you want to apply for. More broadly, it's important to understand how our admission process works. So in many parts of the world and in many programs, it's common to apply to work with a specific faculty member to enter a PhD program. and that's not how our program operates. So students apply to the program as a whole, and then they are assigned to advisors who they work with moving forward. As a result, while we welcome you to contact or connect with faculty, that's not a requirement prior to applying through the system.
And I'll just add one more comment to the previous slide. There are some students who might apply to both tracks and who want to apply to both tracks, and you will have to send in 2 separate applications for this. So you will have to pay the $75 application fee for both, for each track. You can't just send in one application and then have the committee decide for you. So a typical applicant profile. This is what most of the students in the program look like. A strong candidate will have a very clear interest in implementation science or health metrics, depending on which track they want to pursue. Almost all of our, or I want to say all of our students have an advanced degree, which is a master's level training in a related field. They also come with substantive relevant work experience, and most often this is somewhere between 2 and 6 years. Another important aspect we're looking for is the ability to share a coherent perspective about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and understanding about how they will contribute to enriching our program with their own perspectives and their own backgrounds.
So our applications are available through the graduate school's centralized system. As previously noted, we're moving to a new system. So as a result, when you go to apply, you'll see 2 links available, which is in this screenshot here I've included on the slide. The application that is due on December 1st for the next possible entry into the programs is for autumn 2024. So choose the second one with that big bright red arrow. I know there's a lot of text on that page. So again, if you're unsure about anything, just feel free to reach out to us. And this link as well is linked on both of our program websites. So no need to do the right Google search or remember this URL.
This is another area where we actually receive a lot of questions via email about English language proficiency. Applicants are required to demonstrate English language proficiency in one of the ways described on this slide. And all this information is also available on the graduate school website. An important point to note is that this is a graduate school policy, and we have no power at the department or the school level to make an exception for anyone. So we ask that applicants review the requirements in detail, as they're very specific and require advanced planning. If you're coming from a country where your transcript is not in English, we will require an evaluation because our faculty will actually go through your transcript and will want to look at the courses you have taken, grades received, kind of look at the academic progression. And so it is important that the transcripts are in English, and more information can be found on the graduate school website.
So the metrics application includes the following components. So it has an application form, which is going to ask you for your name, your personal information, things like that. It has 4 short questions, which are 500 words maximum each. It asks for your curriculum vitae or resume. It asks for 3 recommendations. At this stage, you're required to include an unofficial transcript. If you're admitted, you would have to supply an official transcript to the graduate school, and then an application fee as well. And there are some limited waivers available. So if this is an obstacle, please take a look at our website for more information. And I'll just kind of read through the 4 short questions right now so that you have a sense of what the application looks like and know the prompts. So the first of these questions is, describe how research, work, or life experiences influence your decision to pursue doctoral studies in global health metrics. Second question, discuss your research interests and explain how you would like to explore them during your doctoral studies. Third question, outline your long-term career goals and illustrate how receiving training in our doctoral program could support you in achieving them. And lastly, our 4th one is, we actively seek and welcome students with diverse backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives. Please describe how experiences within your personal history, family, educational, cultural, economic background, etc., have influenced your intellectual growth and development, both inclusive and beyond your academic goals. And all of those 4 questions are 500 words each. Again. And each of the components on this slide, from the application form all the way through the application fee, are due. They must be completed prior to December 1st, 2023.
So the implementation science application is very similar. There's an application form. We have 3 instead of 4 questions, CV, 3 letters of recommendation. Even though we're saying unofficial transcript over here, if your transcript is not in English, it will need to be evaluated. So that is something to keep in mind. And an application fee, again, you can petition the graduate school to request a waiver, and that information is on there. The link to that information is on their website. I'll read out the 3 questions that we ask and the prompts within each of these questions. And now, Sarah, are we recording? Yeah, so we're recording this, so in case you miss something, you can always go back to the recording. So the first one is a personal statement. It has a 1,000-word limit. And within this, the prompts are: describe your research experience in metrics or implementation science or other fields related to public health. Specifically discuss the research or work experience that inspired you to pursue doctoral studies in global health. Indicate what research interests you would like to pursue during your doctoral studies. You may mention faculty members you would be interested in working with and why. Outline your long-term career goals and how receiving training in our program could advance them. The second question is more about program information. This one does not really have a word limit. We just want to know about how you learned about our program, and what you believe was most influential in your decision to apply. Like I said, we don't have a word limit on this. The question is not considered in admissions evaluation, but the information that you provide is really important to us when in certain future applicants. The third question is a personal history statement, which has a 1,000-word limit. And in this section, we're asking you to provide a statement describing how experiences within your personal history, which includes family, educational, cultural, and economic background, have influenced your intellectual development, your interests, your career plans, and goals. This is not an academic statement of purpose, but rather an opportunity for you to reflect on your own intellectual growth and development, both inclusive and beyond your academic goals. And again, there's a 1,000-word limit on this. And like Sarah mentioned before, a complete application package. It needs to be received in the system by 11:59 p.m. December 1st, 2023, and there are no exceptions. The portal will close, so you will not be able to submit after this deadline.
All right. And then understandably, we often get a lot of questions about funding. So students accepted to the metrics program are awarded 4 years of funding from autumn through spring quarters, so that does not include summer quarters. This funding includes a salary and tuition waiver and is provided in the form of a research assistantship at the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation or a teaching assistantship at the Department of Health Metrics Sciences. And details of the appointment are provided upon admission to the program, so we get that information at the same time. And for students accepted to the implementation science program, funding comes in a variety of different ways. So many students are funded through research assistantships, teaching assistantships, fellowships, scholarships, and more. And you're welcome to contact our faculty to learn more about their research interests.
So the main difference here is while metric students get the 4-year funding, implementation science students, for example, the incoming cohort, the 2023 cohort, we took in 8 students and all 8 of them are funded, but that funding is just for the first year, the first 3 quarters, and then you continue. The responsibility is on the student to kind of build on those relationships or establish new connections and try to secure funding for the next year. So the next slide is a little bit about the University of Washington, and Sarah, I have to give Sarah credit for a very fun factoid that she came up with on the slide. This was new information to me as well, and I was happy to learn that. So by joining the PhD program, you are also becoming a part of the thriving community of the University of Washington. On the Seattle campus alone, we have about 48,000 students. And this gives you ample opportunities to build community, forge academic and professional connections, and hone in on your passion with a diversity of resources that will be at your disposal. And this is the important part. This is really the most important part of the presentation is our mascot. We have a really cute mascot. His name is Dubs, as you can see in this slide. And despite being known as the UW Huskies, Dubs is actually an Alaskan Malamute, which is a completely different breed of dog than a Husky. So thank you, Sarah, for this. Back to you.
Okay, so as you can see from this photo, UW's Seattle campus is stunning no matter the season, and we are located on the Seattle campus, I should say. And so here you can see some of the cherry blossoms that cover parts of campus each spring. And near the water, you can see our own building. So that's this guy right here. And you can catch a similar view as this picture from our vantage point on the building roof, which we can access. And here you'll see the Space Needle and downtown in the distance towards the center. So campus, you're seeing a part of it here, but it does sprawl a little bit more. It's 2 square kilometers with Portage and Union Bays meeting at its south end. Again, you can see that right here. And it's situated in the vibrant University District just north of downtown Seattle. The neighborhood is home to many recreational opportunities along with really amazing food, which I think is one of the most important things to know, and is mostly clustered along what's known as the Ave. The official street name is University Way, but you may hear people talking about the Ave.
So in addition to the very beautiful campus that we have, students are also able to enjoy the gorgeous Pacific Northwest almost every day. Seattle itself continues to be one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. It hosts an abundance of parks alongside with incredible museums, attractions, and food that Sarah mentioned about in the earlier slide. There is no shortage of things to do in the city as well. In the city itself and as well in the city's backyard, you can ski and mountain and kayak in the Sounds all in one day. And there's very few cities where you can actually do all these activities on the same day. And I don't know if you'll have time to do all of that once you're in the program, but it is something that is possible. Importantly, another important fact is that Seattle and the Northwest are also hubs of research, innovation, and public health, making the region an ideal home for students who are interested in pursuing either a career in health metrics or implementation science.
And our home for the Department of Health Metric Sciences and the Department of Global Health, as well as the School of Public Health more broadly, is the Hans Rosling Center, which you can see here. So some of you may know of Hans Rosling, who is a prolific Swedish physician, academic, and public speaker, perhaps best known to the public as a co-founder of Gapminder and the author of Factfulness. But we are really honored to be working in a building bearing his name. So this building opened in 2020, so still fairly new, and it's shared with a lot of different entities who are working on population health. It's situated right near the heart of campus, which is Red Square, and you saw that as well in that big photo of campus. These pictures are a bit deceiving. I think they're really pretty, but they don't actually have any people in them, which is a bit deceiving. So during the school year, I want to assure you that the building is busy and lively with students congregating here in the lobbies and in our individual department spaces throughout the building. It's also important to know that Seattle's light rail system, the Link, serves campus with 2 stops only a ways away from us, one on the Ave and one at South Campus. And in addition to that, our building is highly accessible by bus, bike, and more.
So in that building that you see on the bottom right corner, Sarah is actually on the 4th floor of that building. And I am on the 7th floor of that building. And every floor had, like, we have epidemiology, health metric sciences, global health. So they're all on different floors. And so every floor is occupied with students and faculty. And with that, we've come to the end of our presentation. This was just to give you a very quick overview. Like I mentioned, this is being recorded, so you can go back and listen to it if you still have questions, but we'll spend the next 30 minutes taking some of the questions that you guys might have.